Hello everyone, this is Vivian Chan. In this video, I'm going to explain to you 2018 HSC Mathematics Extension 1 question number 12. So, question number 12, part A, asks you to evaluate this integration. Before we go to this integration, we have to know this compound angle formula for double angle. If we cosine 2A, let's say A is an angle, and it can be rewrite in 2 cosine square A minus 1. From 2 times A, you can rewrite it to A, but degree 2 cosine goes to square. Now, we can treat this 3x be the A form, okay? Because this is a square term. So square A now equals to 2x. And the whole thing becomes cosine 6x equals to 2 cosine square 3x minus 1. If we change the subject to cosine square 3x, it will be cosine 6 plus 1 divided by 2. The reason for doing so is because we cannot do integration for a trigonometric function with degree greater than 1. All right, this is a degree 2 trigonometric function. We don't know how to do it, and therefore we have to downgrade the degree 2 into degree 1. So the trick is, by using a double angle formula, we can downgrade the cosine square into degree 1 trigonometric function. All right, now this 1 over 2, it is just a coefficient, and therefore we can do it later, multiply by 1 over 2 after the integration. This integration, it is not difficult. So integrate cosine 6x would become 1 over 6 sine 6x. Integration of 1 dx become x multiplied by 1 over 2 plus c, and the answer is this one. Question B, it tells you that there is a Ferris wheel. The radius is 20 meters and is rotating at a rate of 1.5 radian per minute. What is this 1.5 radian per minute? It is actually meaning the rate of change of this angle theta is changing at the rate of 1.5 radian per minute, and the carriage h meter above the horizontal diameter of the Ferris wheel, and this angle is the angle of elevation of the top of the carriage from the center of the Ferris wheel. That means if you have somebody is looking from this point to the top of this carriage, the angle should be theta. Okay, question 1 asks you to show d theta equal to 20 cosine theta. So first of all, let's take a look at h. H is this one, theta. H and 20, it makes a sine theta relation. Therefore, sine theta equal to h of 20. And with this equation, we differentiate both sides with respect to theta. So d sine theta d theta gives you cosine theta. And the right-hand side is 1 over 12 dh d theta. We are going to rearrange the whole thing, and you will have dh d theta equals to 20 cosine theta. That is what the question asks you to do. In question 2, it asks you to find dh d theta at h equal to 15, because the question said what is the speed of the carriage rising when it is 50 meters higher than the horizontal diameter of the Ferris wheel? Give your answer to one decimal place. So when h equal to 1, 5, 15, what should be the value of theta? So we have sine theta equal to 15 of 20. Simplified it, you will have 3 over 4. Of course, we can use a calculator to get the value of theta, but it is long and irrational number. We just don't do it at this moment. Okay, let's just leave it when we have to get the value of theta. The question asks for dh dt. How to get dh dt? And then from part 1, we know that dh d theta equal to 20 cosine. So by chain rule, dh dt should be equal to dh d theta times d theta dt. Dh d theta from part 1 is 20 cosine theta. And the question tells you that d theta dt equal to 1.5. The question now left is simple. The question asks for dh dt at h equal to 15. When h equal to 15, sine theta equal to 3 over 4. Okay, but now dh dt, we need to know cosine theta, 20 times 1.5, we know at h equal to 15, sine equals to 3 over 4. Right angle triangle, 3, hypotenuse 4, the adjacent side should be equal to root 7 by Pythagoras theorem. So cosine theta should be root 7 over 4. So we know that dh over dt at h equal to 15 equals to 19.8 meter per minute. Question C, give you a function x equal to arc sine x plus arc cosine x. The question asks you to differentiate this function and show that the first derivative equal to 0. But the problem is how to do differentiation of arc sine and arc cosine. Let's do some revision. How about when we do integration of 1 over root 1 minus x squared dx? All right, this integration, we don't know how to work it out, so we have to integrate by some substitution. Usually, we can substitute this x by sine theta or cosine theta. If we substitute this x by sine theta, then dx d theta should be equals to d sine theta should be equal to cosine theta, right? And then this 1 minus x squared, 1 minus x is sine theta, so 1 minus sine squared theta should be cosine squared theta. Take the square root, gives you cosine theta. Now, dx equals to cosine theta d theta, right? And the denominator, the root 1 minus x squared should be equal to cosine theta. The cosine theta and the cosine theta, you can cancel them out. And you will have this integration 1d theta gives you theta plus c. And theta, x equal to sine theta. So theta should be equal to arc sine x. Therefore, integration of 1 over root 1 minus x squared dx gives you arc sine x plus c. If you differentiate this, arc sine x definitely is going to give you this 1 over root 1 minus x squared, because integration and differentiation, they are the two reverse function of each other. So let's move it aside and we do this integration again. This time I let x, instead of sine x, I let x to become cosine theta. So dx d theta should be equal to d cosine theta d theta, which give you minus sine theta. And the denominator, 1 minus x squared. This time the x is cosine theta, so it should be 1 minus cosine squared theta. Take the square root, it gives you sine theta. Substitution. So dx, from here you know that dx equals minus sine theta d theta. So minus sine theta d theta. And the root 1 minus x squared, from here you know that it is sine theta. So sine theta. The sine theta and sine theta we canceled out. So it gives you integration of minus 1 d theta. Therefore, the integration would give you minus theta plus c. Now, since x equals to cosine theta, so theta should be equal to cosine x. And so it should be minus arc cosine x plus c, which means d arc cosine x dx should give you minus 1 over root 1 minus x squared. So now we have everything. Function x equal to arc sine x plus arc cosine x. Differentiate by x, which means differentiate arc sine x gives you this 1 over root 1 minus x squared. Differentiate the arc cosine x gives you minus 1 over root 1 minus x squared. So the two things add up together give you 0 definitely. Part 2 asks you to prove that arc sine x plus arc cosine x equals to power of 2. That means there are two angles. It sum up always equal to power of 2. So let's let theta be the arc sine x angle, which means when we do the sine on this theta, it gives you x. But sine can be rewritten in cosine form, right? So cosine power of 2 minus theta always gives you sine theta. It also gives you x, which means when we do arc cosine x, it should be equals to power of 2 minus theta. Therefore, you have arc sine x plus arc cosine x should be equal to theta plus power of 2 minus theta, which gives you pi over 2. But this method, you didn't use part 1, which means you are not using the hands. How can we use the result of part 1 to give the result of part 2? Part 1 tells you that the first derivative of function x equal to 0. What kind of function would give you the first derivative equals to a 0? Means function of x is actually a constant. How can a function be a constant? That means whichever values of x I put into this function, it gives you the same value. X can be anything. It always goes to that particular value. X equal to 1 goes to that particular value. X equal to 2, it goes to that particular value. So we can just substitute anything you like. Let's say we substitute x equal to 0. Arc sine 0 gives you 0. Arc cosine 0 gives you power of 2. So 0 plus power of 2 equals to power of 2. Question 3, it asks you to sketch this function out. The function of x gives you constant power of 2. So at y equal to power of 2, we draw a straight line, horizontal line. But the problem is domain. What kind of x can goes into this function? You cannot ask for what is the value of arc sine 2, right? X cannot be greater than 1 because sine function only oscillate between 1 and minus 1. Same as cosine function. Cosine function also, the value of cosine function also oscillate between minus 1 and 1. Therefore, the domain of this function can only be in between minus 1 and 1 inclusively, which means we can have minus 1 and 1 being included in our domain. Part D, it is a probability question. The question tells you that there is a group of 12 people who sets off on a track, and then the probability that each person can finish the track within 8 hours is 0.75. The question asks you to find the probability that at least 10 people from the group who can complete the track within 8 hours. The keyword here is at least. What's the probability of 1 out of 12 people in the group cannot finish the track within 8 hours? 1 can finish the track within 8 hours is 0.75. So 1 cannot finish the track within 8 hours is 1 minus 0.75. And then the rest 11 people who can finish the job within 8 hours. Therefore, they finish within 8 hours is 0.75, and there are 11 of them. Now we have 12 people. Which one cannot finish? There are 12 different combinations we have. Any one of the 12 people can be the one who cannot finish the track within 3 hours. Okay, so this 12C1 is talking about which one who cannot finish the track. You have 12 different choices. So this is the probability for 1 out of 12 people who cannot finish the track within 8 hours. The question is talking about at least 10 people who can complete the track within 8 hours. So it can be 12 who can complete within 8 hours, or 11 who can complete within 8 hours, or 10 who can complete within 8 hours, which means you have 3 different choices. For 12 people who can complete within 8 hours means there are nobody who cannot finish the trip within 8 hours. For 11 people who can complete within 8 hours means we have one who cannot finish the trip within 8 hours. And then 10 people can complete within 8 hours means we have 2 people who cannot complete within 8 hours. And here, this one cannot is this probability. And we need to find out how to calculate 2 out of 12 people in the group cannot finish the trip within 8 hours. 1 minus 0.75 is talking about one person who cannot finish the trek within 8 hours. And then because we want to calculate 2 out of 12, so 2, the square means the 2 person who cannot finish the trek within 8 hours. And this 0.75 means who can finish the trek within 8 hours, and 10 of them. The problem is this 12C2 means among the 12 people, how many different combinations 2 out of 12 people can finish the trek within 8 hours. So this is the 10 can, but 2 cannot. We have the second cases, the third case is how about 12 of them? They all can complete the trek within 8 hours. So here, 12 all can complete within 8 hours is 0.75 to the power 12. So at least 10 can complete the trek within 8 hours is the sum of these 3 different cases. Therefore, we have this one plus this one plus this one. The final answer is here. Part E is a coordinate geometry problem. The question gives you a parabola with the equation x squared equal to 4ay. S is the focus of this parabola with the coordinates 0, 8. And there are 2 points on this parabola. One is P, the other one is Q. On P, you draw a tangent. On Q, you also draw a tangent to this parabola. And then these 2 tangents, they intersect at T. The tangent to the parabola at P cuts the x-axis at A. The tangent to the parabola at Q cuts the x-axis at B. And question 1 asks you to show that PAS is actually a right angle. To fulfill a right angle means the gradient of PA and the gradient of SA, the product of the 2 gradients must be equal to -1. Therefore, first of all, we have to find the gradient of PA and then to find the gradient of SA. S squared equal to 4ay is the equation of this parabola. To find the gradient of tangent, we have to find dy dx. So differentiate this whole equation with respect to x, you will have dy dx equal to x over 2a. The gradient of PA is actually, we evaluate the gradient, the dy dx at point P. So we sub the coordinates of P back into dy dx, so x should be 2ap, 2a over 2a. Therefore, the gradient of PA, this straight line, the gradient equals to P. Now we are going to find the gradient of SA. If the gradient of SA is -1 over P, then question 1 is done. SA with the coordinates s equal to 0, 8, if we are able to find the coordinates of A, we can calculate the gradient of SA. With the slope of PA available and the coordinates of P available, it is not difficult for us to find the equation of PA. So it's y minus the y coordinate of P equals to the slope times x minus the x coordinate of P. Our target is find the coordinates of A. A lies on the x-axis, which means the y coordinate of A equal to 0. So at y equal to 0, x should be equals to AP. That means the coordinates of A is now available. So gradient of SA with the coordinates both available, gradient of SA equals to -1 over P. As we have predicted, the 2 gradients, the product of them equals to -1. Therefore, angle PAS equals to 90 degrees. question 1 is done. Question 2, it asks you to explain why these 4 points, S, B, A, T, they are concyclic points. In part 1, we know that SAT equals to 90 degree. If SBT also equals to 90 degree, then these 4 points are concyclic. Therefore, our task now is to prove that SBT is also 90 degree. Similar to part 1, TQ is a tangent to this parabola at Q. So the gradient of TQ, you get the coordinates of Q and to dy dx. So you get the gradient equals to Q. With the coordinates of Q available, it is not difficult for you to find the equation of TQ. Y equal to qx minus aq squared. Now we are going to find the coordinates of B. The y coordinate of B equals to 0. So y equal to 0, x should be equals to a times q. So the coordinates of B should be aq 0. Now we want to check if SBT is a right angle. We know the gradient of QT equals to Q. Now we have to check for the gradient of SB. Gradient of SB, we have the coordinates of S and the coordinates of B. So the gradient of SB is minus 1 over Q. Since the two gradients, the product equals to minus 1. Therefore, we know that angle SBT is really 90 degree. As this is 90 degree, this is also 90 degree. Therefore, we can conclude that SBAT, these 4 points, they are concyclic points. The reason is because converse of angle on the same segment. So question 3, it asks you to show that the diameter of the circle passing through SBAT is actually equals to this form. To find diameter of the circle, because SBT is a right angle, or SAT is also a right angle, you know that ST is actually the diameter of the circle. With the coordinates of S and T above available, then the diameters of this circle is actually equal to the distance of ST. So diameter, ST distance, we apply the distance between 2 points formula. X coordinate minus x coordinate square plus y coordinate minus y coordinate square. And then we can take out the common factor of a square. After the square root, a square become a. What's being left is p plus q whole square and pq minus 1 whole square inside the third form. And expand these two perfect square brackets, you will have p squared plus 2pq plus q squared and p squared q squared minus 2pq plus 1. To cancel out the common terms, you have p squared plus q squared plus p squared q squared plus 1 left. And now you can see the common factor of p squared. Let's take out the p squared as the common factor. And what's left here is 1p squared. Therefore, this 1 actually comes from here. 1 plus q squared. And then these two, let's just group them together. And we can see that this 1 plus q squared and this 1 plus q squared, they can be served as a common factor. So we just take it out. As we have done before, this is actually 1q squared plus 1. After you take out the common factor of 1 plus q squared, you get to the answer.